Hello everyone, it's me, the Ramen Demon. I'm the one who sneaks into your kitchen, steals all of your ramen, and glues it on my fucking head. Ha 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 ha. It's been me this whole time. Give me your ramen now. If you're unaware, a little bit ago, and by a little bit ago I mean a few months ago, I made a video called So You Wanna Be a Music Nerd. And this video is a place where I kind of went through and I talked about different forms of music creation and music content creators here on YouTube that you can watch to introduce yourself into different genres of music. Don't actually go and watch that video though. It's kind of garbage. In that video though, like I just talked about, I talked about different music content creators here on YouTube that can possibly have the potential to allow for exposure to different genres of music that otherwise audiences might not know about. These creators though are a really valuable tool in my opinion. They allow for these audiences to immerse themselves into a sound, style, or genre of music, all through the recommendation of just one person. For example, creators like Crustbag, Hivemind, Neopunk FM, and even like the Needle Drop and Brad Taste in Music, in my opinion, all do a pretty good job of introducing music genres in a way that is respectful and well done. To me, all of these content creators do a really good job of parsing through different music that they're exposed to and either praising and recommending them to their fan base, or if we're being honest, making fun of them a little bit. Even at their most critical though, I feel like all of these content creators that I just went off and listed do a pretty solid job of making sure that it is still coming through in a respectful way, all while also having legitimately valid criticisms that are in a lot of ways insightful to how we view these pieces of art. This is done by taking care to make sure that fans of these different genres don't feel isolated or devalued if some of these content creators don't end up enjoying their pieces. Despite perceptions, it's creators like these that are able to, despite sometimes generally lower content effort, they are able to still show a lot of respect for the art that they maybe even don't like whatsoever. However, today I'm sitting down to discuss one specific content creator that I feel doesn't align with these adjectives. In fact, this is someone that I find to be pretty unhelpful to the general music discourse that we see here on YouTube. Someone who takes entire genres and portrays them and misrepresents them in a way just to argue for a level of pretentiousness towards fans of these genres. Someone who takes art made by people dealing with grief and portrays it as though it's traumatizing as a means to get video engagement. Someone who, in his discussions of music, fails to do proper research and take care to make sure that the information that he is spreading is legitimately accurate. So much so that it becomes almost grating to anybody who has any level of understanding of the artists being discussed. This video is about a bucket of Jake. A Bucket of Jake, as you've probably guessed by now, is a music YouTuber, and I don't like that guy that much. There's that too. To me, he sort of reads as like the Mr. GG of music content. But whereas Mr. GG is cool, I don't think that A Bucket of Jake is very cool. Having sort of skimmed through several videos of his besides the two I'm planning on discussing in depth today, and having been vaguely familiar with his content prior to my creation of this video, I've just never been that big of a fan of the guy. A Bucket of Jake, who I'll just be referring to as Jake from here on out, in my view is pretty attached to this genre of music video essay where you get a lot of the repetitions of phrases like, "This album broke me," "the scariest album ever made," shit like that, right?
Jesus Christ! That is huge! That is absolutely huge! Yes!
I don't know, I've just kind of always found that style of music discussion to be pretty generally reductive, which is something that I will discuss further later in this video. Even though I knew that I wasn't crazy about his content style, I never really felt compelled to dig through that much more into his content. That was until a Twitter account that I follow pretty actively for their work with the record label The Flunzer, as well as their general music discussions. Annie is Undead on Twitter. They made a series of tweets surrounding one video from this content creator, and this is one of the two videos that I plan on going over in this video here. The video in question is discussing the 2005 final album from the band COIL, The Ape of Naples. Judging by the title, I pretty much immediately recognized this as being the similarly reductive music video essay format that I disliked about this channel from my brief interactions with the content. Though I wasn't largely familiar with the band that was being discussed at the time of this video being released, I had only really gotten into the band about a month before I decided to make this video. I was still, at the time of this video being released, a massive fan of their project Music to Play in the Dark Volume 2, which was a project that actually took on a pretty massive role in my own music creation in terms of inspiration and shit. And I was also vaguely familiar with the band's history. I was in the middle of working on a Disturbing Songs iceberg that I'm crafting up, and that's still coming, by the way. Trust me. Still coming. So in preparation for that, I had done research on this band previously and planned on discussing that in that video. All that being said, I kind of had enough information to pretty rightfully assume that this video wasn't gonna be that good. So I decided I was gonna take the time to search up this channel and see the chaos for myself. And then I instantly didn't fucking care anymore, because the second that I searched up the channel, I fucking saw another video that was coming after the harsh noise scene, and then a fiery hatred unbeknownst to even the most vile of creatures that walk this earth overtook my very soul. So let's put a pin in that COIL topic for a second and let's move on to this video, because I really have to fucking talk about this video. I Became a Noise Musician to Prove It's Easy was uploaded on February 26, 2022, and honestly, I think I've only seen maybe like one other YouTube video that made me want to peel the skin off of my fucking face with my bare hands this goddamn much. I bet you can take a wild fucking guess what the other video is, huh? In order to establish the tone of this video, I'm gonna play a little bit of a clip from the intro segment to Jake's video on this subject. And so that way we can kind of establish the tone and mentality that Jake is approaching this video with.
I don't know if I ever said this anywhere, but I wanted to do a bit. Luke did a bit where like he pretended to do noise music and he just went like in the microphone. And I was like, yo, we should have just like made that a track, like a noise music song, put it on Bandcamp, just like not tell anyone.
Just see what, not touch it, just see what happens.
Stretch it out to like 45 minutes, cut it up so it's like a seamless like album, and then it would be like, dude, fucking noise music.
You could do it. Someone who knows how to make noise music do that to my when I.
Dude, I can literally do that. I can literally do that. Like, yeah, I'll just put it somewhere.
Just like
see if it gets big. See if it gets big.
Yeah.
And everyone's like,
and then 10 years from now, you're gonna be like, I made this out of some guy blowing into the microphone, and it was a bit
this is
the
the original sample. I might do it now. Guess what I did?
So alright, you're probably still not sold on the level of disrespect that I believe is in this video just from that intro. That is especially true if you aren't a harsh noise music fan yourself. Though I do think that this speaks to the intention behind this video, which is something that will become clearer as we progress. To me, it becomes pretty self-evident as this video goes on that this video is pretty much just designed to trash a genre of music for the sake of it. It feels like Jake is simply just coming on here to make fun of and trash a genre of music that he doesn't quite understand, while also completely denying to make legitimate attempts to understand the appeal of the art. Keep this idea in mind as we go throughout this video.
But one genre still clouds the minds of music fans to this day: noise music. Now, y'all probably know the history of noise music by now. What's that? You don't? Alright, well, watch this real quick so you can get caught up to speed with the rest of the class.
Wait, what's this? There's an entire chapter in this video dedicated solely to explaining the history of noise music to catch the audience up on its appeal? Oh boy, I sure can't wait to see how Jake decides to approach explaining this genre to his audience. I know for a fact Jake, and only Jake, and definitely nobody else, is going to do a great job of explaining how great of a genre this kind of music can be.
So, funny story.
Yeah, he literally gets someone else to do it for him. But hey, I mean, I'm sure this is actually just because this person here is legitimately affiliated with the noise scene. Therefore, they might actually do a legitimately better job explaining this genre's history than Jake probably could himself. And so that way it can also open up for the potential to introduce this audience that is likely being exposed to noise for the first time, considering his massively large fan base, so that way they can find something that they might actually enjoy.
Here's hoping this is right because I bumped all the information off of Wikipedia, so if I'm wrong, I don't know, sue me or something.
Okay, so calling this a noise music history segment is actually kind of disingenuous. In this section, we get a vague one-sentence reference to a founder of noise music, which is accurate. It is true, this was a person that actually existed and helped to pioneer the style of noise music, but that's the only reference to anything music, history, noise, whatever that we actually get in this section. Other than this, we mainly only get a series of vaguely passive-aggressive descriptions of the supposed appeal of noise. This, of course, makes it really fucking funny that this segment is literally titled A Brief History of Noise Music. Regardless, let's just see how the appeal of this genre is described by the guests that Jake brought in here.
The point of noise music is, strangely enough, not to sound good, which is admittedly a very weird concept to take in. It isn't differently sounding out of rebellion or style like other genres, but rather it's a complete deconstruction of what makes music sound good.
Look, so as someone who discusses and enjoys more extreme forms of music, as well as someone who actively makes noise-adjacent music, this is something that I hear a lot from people who aren't as familiar with the genre. Because of the fact that noise music is so often just kind of brushed off in the mainstream as a series of sounds that aren't really meant to mean anything whatsoever, the only reason that people can really find in the mainstream for its existence is the idea of creating an in-group, as though it's designed specifically for people who want to be hard and cool, to essentially have a place where they can shit on more accessible genres of music for the fuck of it. Though I don't think that this statement is outright trying to say like all music fans are pretentious dorks or whatever, right? To me it does show a pretty fundamental lack of understanding of the appeal of the genre in the first place. Because from here he does give a legitimately decent description of the appeal for a good few seconds. He goes on to describe that it's kind of this overstimulation of sound, the idea that it can feel disorienting, brutalist, and sometimes even horrific and demonic, depending on the project's tone and appeal.
From the moment you put on nearly any noise track, your senses are completely overloaded. It floods your ears and your mind with exactly what it's called: noise. It's wicked, it's cruel, it's ugly, but for that reason, it's beautiful.
But it almost instantly falls flat.
Listening to noise music is arguably beneficial because after spending so long flooding yourself with said noises of delirium, the moment you turn it off and listen to something softer, you'll immediately begin to appreciate every individual instrument so much more. Bass lines will be stronger, vocals will be more pronounced, synths will be poppier. You'll be getting the whole Disney IMAX experience.
God, what a fucking insulting way to represent the appeal of a genre. This is legitimately like the only compliment that he gives this entire genre that isn't designed specifically to describe the sound or an impact of a genre from a non-personal viewpoint. The appeal of noise has to do with, just like any other genre of music, sonic ideas, textures, structure, and even the emotional weight of a given track. The difference here though is that with noise, it presents this active desire to be almost sadistic to the listener. It actively tries to be disorienting and hard to keep up with, and it even sometimes intends to scare the audience pretty directly. In that sense, harsh noise music tends to have almost a punk-rooted core to it in ethos. Think of acts that you might be more familiar with who even use some noise elements in their music, such as Clipping, Death Grips, and Model Actress. You get the fucking idea, right? The key difference is that it strips back some of these more accessible elements until there's pretty much nothing left but just this indiscernible amount of sound that becomes completely overwhelming. In that sense, by saying that the main appeal of this genre is that when you turn it off, it makes all other music sound good is just so fucking disingenuous to me. Like, if I got in this video right now and I fucking said that hip hop is only good because when you turn it off, it makes all other music sound way better, I wouldn't be a music reviewer. I would be Ben fucking Shapiro. Regardless, I don't think that there's much else in this section that I feel really contributes positively or negatively to the representation of this genre as a whole. I have linked this video as well as the other video in the description of this, so feel free to go and watch for yourself if you want to double check me on that or have anything else that you want to add that maybe I forgot. So let's just go ahead and get back into Jake's whole take on the genre. I mean, to me it's kind of important that we establish his own views and idea of what this genre is, so that way we can make an argument as to whether or not he is or isn't familiar enough to truly do justice to this noise music shit.
Harsh noise musicians. You got your Merzbow, your the Rita, they were co-signed by Clipping. You got your
Okay, credit where credit's due, that joke was actually really fucking funny. Before we continue as well, I do think that it is pretty important that we give a general definition of what harsh noise music is and can be, so that way we can go through with a general understanding and be on the same level of thinking. Yo, hey, it's editing me here. I am coming on here because of the fact that non-editing me really kind of fumbled this one, so I'm just gonna go ahead and like explain all of this shit right here because I forgot to do this fucking take again because it was absolute garbage. But all I'm basically saying here is that I feel as though we should give a definition for harsh noise because we haven't yet at this point in the video, and that Jake agrees, and so therefore it is cool to see his own opinion and take on what harsh noise is and can be, so that way we can go forward knowing basically how Jake views this genre.
Now, noise music is a pretty sensitive topic for me because you probably get an idea from watching my videos that I fucking love noise music, you know? The disintegration loops, Panda Jing has a lot of elements of noise in her music, and fuck, Everywhere at the End of Time stages 4, 5, and 6 are pretty much noise albums. But those are different. They either have noise in their work or they show a gradual degradation of sound. An artist can technically be a noise musician but have other elements of their work that keep them away from that label. And there are plenty of artists that I really enjoy who do that. My point is, there's a fine line between noise in music and noise music. I think a better phrase here would be harsh noise music. Yeah, harsh noise music, personally, not a fan, don't really like the stuff. It just kind of seems like noise to me, but not in a good way. They're headache-inducing sounds, they're barely changing track list, and the absurd lengths of some of these fucking things.
Given his description of the sound of noise music, plus the Merzbow Rita joke, it really feels like this is the level of understanding you'd have of the genre if you only ever listened to Pulse Demon once. Not only is it pretty naive to say that this is what all of harsh noise music sounds like, but it's also a fundamentally overly narrow definition. What if a harsh noise track starts using synthesizers? What if it uses screamed vocals or just regular vocals? What if it uses some intense percussion? Does that all suddenly make what's being described here no longer harsh noise? If that's the case, then fucking awesome. Here's a ton of totally not, for sure, definitely not harsh noise songs that I'm gonna tell you about right now, so that way we can all come to the conclusion that they're not in fact harsh noise. For example, you have the debut record from Gardens of Assemblage, which throws some ambience into the mix. Or the Merzbow Shushu collab, which uses these high-tone synthesizers, rhythmic bass hits, as well as these very cult-like vocals. Or the Bastard Noise and Sickness collab. This is a project that uses a several minute long passage of just a distant siren being blared in the background over the top of some death metal growls. or the Bowen Teeth Stream split, which uses these vocal passages from Xandra that makes her fucking sound like the Vavitch from the movie The Vavitch. Never mind. You get the point. You get the fucking point. Look, great harsh noise music is way more than just creating the loudest technological sounds that you possibly can. Sure, a lot of it is that, but not all of it. It's about finding very unique ways to flip samples. It's about how you generate sound in a unique and interesting way. And it's also about creating a level of sonic world building that really immerses you into the genre. Fuck, my mom's calling. The great thing about noise music is that you can achieve this through pretty much any means necessary. As a result, the genre pretty heavily strips back on the conventions of music that may otherwise tie down a lot of artists from reaching true creative potential. Anyway, now that we have a pretty clear understanding of the genre of harsh noise, let's get back into the actual fucking point of the video. As the intro of this video kind of implies, Jake ends up taking the microphone whooshing sound effect from the beginning of the video, and then he edits it in FL Studio and uploads it to Bandcamp. All of this is kind of under the pretense of being some like pretend noise musician who's going undercover. He does some pretty borderline parody stuff with the Bandcamp page stylization, but this is about all the video was originally meant to boil down to. Yo, hey, it's editing me. Editing me again. Man, I keep fumbling this shit. What the fuck? I just wanted to pop in here and say that I noticed while I was editing this very video that you are seeing right now that my noise album has more Bandcamp subscribers than his. So Jake, suck on that. Having listened to the project myself, it legitimately isn't even the worst thing ever when it comes to harsh noise music. Seriously, as much as I hesitate to say it, a lot of points on this project do have some pretty heavily dissonant qualities to it that make for a pretty compelling sonic idea. But a few negative things really did stand out for me. Due to the nature of what it was made as, the initial charm of this project wears pretty thin after you realize that there's almost no change in the sonic palette to really remain engaging. It's too similar to itself to really be a good harsh noise project, but it's too frantic and too over the top for it to be a really good harsh noise wall project, which is supposed to be much more meditative by nature. In addition, considering that the creation of this project pretty much requires for the entire thing to be entirely in mono, it prevents the project from reaching a level of dynamics that you would probably hear from a more well thought out harsh noise project. The project in its entirety though is available for a free download on Bandcamp, and I do honestly recommend that if this interests you, you check it out for yourself and come to your own conclusions. That's just my personal take on it. There are also 2 more tracks at the time of this video that have been uploaded to that Bandcamp page, and in my personal opinion, they are significantly better than this first debut project. It uses better textures and introduces more of an ambient stylization to it that I kind of alluded to earlier, similar to like Gardens of Assemblage. I'm still not huge on either of these 2 tracks, but I do think that they show a lot of potential and growth for a legitimately well executed harsh noise project in the future from the guy. If this was where the video ended with the project just being posted to Bandcamp for any fans who might be curious about it to go and check it out on their own volition, that'd be one thing, and I think that I wouldn't take as much of an issue with this video as I do. I mean, sure, it's a little condescending at points to the genre, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a silly, goofy idea that doesn't really have any sort of impact whatsoever. I mean, how much of a fucking hypocrite would I be if I actively shat on this video, but then I went and watched the guy who fucking made a dark ambient track out of reverb fart noises? It's at this point in the video, though, that I start to take legitimate issue with what is being done here. After the album doesn't get much response through Bandcamp, mainly since the site doesn't have a strong algorithm and rather serves as a marketplace that needs to be promoted through other means, he basically decides to blindly share this project through his Discord. So now this project is being exposed to fans without the knowledge that Jake made this project, who are supposedly generally fans of harsh noise music. All of this is basically done to get written reviews of this project.
After some Reddit spamming and having some Discord monkeys spam shit on the Fantano server, I realized I had to use my platform for evil. So I thought, where can I go that I could get organic feedback about an album that is not accessible in any way, shape, or form? I reached out to you guys. I put a call to action in my Discord to find the ones who really enjoy noise music. I posted on my Discord roughly saying, for those who would consider themselves enjoyers of noise music, would you like to participate in an experiment? In quotations for a video.
He puts up a post on his Discord page asking for help with a video if they're harsh noise fans. I take issue with this for two reasons. First, and probably the most petty of the two, if you say that this is a concept that is for a video, you're obviously going to get anybody who wants to be in a video. Hell, it's likely that several people in this Discord who responded to this thing likely have not listened to harsh noise in their entire fucking lives. You even say this yourself in the video, Jake.
In quotations for a video. If you're a YouTuber, put that in any fucking thing you ever say. Oh my god, you will get flooded with responses.
And this sentiment is also shared by someone who you feature as one of the reviews in this video. Quote, my knowledge of noise music is only a mere bit. Artists like clipping and shoo-shoo using bits and pieces of harsh noise mixed with a rap or rock element. And of course, the legendary Merzbow. Why is it that everybody who doesn't know harsh noise always defaults to mentioning Merzbow? I don't even think that he makes that good harsh noise music. Merzbow is like the Drake of harsh noise music. He makes the most, in my opinion, by the numbers harsh noise music, despite sometimes having some quality tracks, and then puts that out there. Second, and the actual complaint that you should probably worry about though, is the idea that this is clearly just meant to deceive your fan base. Basically, you're trying to trick them into thinking that like this is just a standard harsh noise track, so that way you can go, haha, this album is actually made really lazily. Ha 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 ha. You thought it was good, but it was actually bad. Ha 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 ha. The problem is, with more abstract forms of art, there is both a lot less room for failure and a lot less room for success. It's really hard to make something like harsh noise stand out in any conceivable way. And this is why some of the best tracks in the genre I hold to be kind of legitimate masterpieces. As a result, though, you've essentially gone out of your way to make a piece of music that is greater than the sum of its parts, and then actively make fun of your audience for thinking that the final product was good. Though after this section, we do get a legitimately well done conclusion segment that I feel poses a lot of good and interesting topics that are worth discussing. He describes this idea of harsh noise music being kind of similar to like a Rorschach test, stating that like harsh noise fans don't actively look for specific things within the music to determine whether or not it's good, and rather are going off of a general vibe or mental image as to what the music is, something that they can use atmosphere for in order to project their own meaning onto it. It's a legitimately neat concept that's really well described that also becomes really fucking funny when you realize it's just him describing the concept of abstract art at you.
People who enjoy noise music don't really seem like they have specifics they're looking for. It's more of a vibe and a feel that they're looking for. I essentially gave them a blank canvas with some splatters on it, and they made meaning out of it. And the whole point of it is it's vague. The interesting part is what they see out of these abstract creations. And that's the whole point of it.
Even with this though, it is pretty much too little too late. I mean, this section only lasts for like a little bit over 60 seconds in a nearly 40-minute video that otherwise completely trashes the genre and fans of it. Now, all of this may come off entirely petty on my end. I mean, I am just kind of bullying some guy for bullying a genre that I like, right? But I don't think that my main gripe with this video lies in the fact that it's just someone who is making fun of something that that I enjoy. Rather, my issue with videos like this comes into play when you consider the massive fan base and the potential impact for videos like it. A Bucket of Jake has almost 100,000 subscribers as of now, and this video has just over 30,000 views. It's pretty safe to say there's a decently large percentage of this audience that is likely being fed this video without ever being exposed to harsh noise music before. An audience comprised mostly of people who haven't had interactions with this idea and this niche. Using a platform with that kind of size for a video like this, I think actively makes those who would have otherwise been potentially interested in the genres that are much more obscure than the potential audience that this video has reached already, fundamentally less curious about these mediums. I feel like the main takeaway people are going to have from this video is like, man, noise music and fans all kind of suck. They're all kind of weird and corny and weird and stupid and pretentious. But I'll listen to this one album that he made though that kind of makes fun of it because that seems cool. And going through some of the comments of this video, I think I'm mostly right in that assumption. I mean, the top comment of this video, by a wide margin mind you, simply states the only genre with more artists than listeners. Which is admittedly really funny, but also really fucking sad if you think about it. Noise music, despite what pretenses you may have around the people who operate within the genre, is one of the least gatekeepy genres that you can really get into. As another comment on this video put it, if you like noise enough to go through the trouble to make some noise, you're in the club. Noise fans and noise musicians that I've interacted with, they've all been some of the most caring and accepting people that I've ever met. And the feeling of sharing something this niche with a group of people is really gratifying. So videos like these that actively push people away from a really interesting and unique music space, I think is genuinely sad. It's really frustrating to me to see people be actively convinced by people like a Bucket of Jake to not give something a chance that they otherwise might. But I mean, that's okay. I mean, at least at the end of the day, it's only one video. It isn't gonna get much worse than that, right?
Oh, honey, you've got a big storm coming.
What the fuck? Who just said that?
Hey, over here, you absolute fucking tool. Aren't you forgetting something?
No, I think that I covered all of my points pretty well, and I set out to explain all that I meant to.
God, you cannot be this fucking stupid.
Look, man, I thought you were just like some fucking glass pumpkin that I forgot to put up for Halloween one year and just decided to keep around. You've like gotta cut me some slack here, okay?
Okay, don't even worry about that, you little dumb little poo-poo head.
What did he just call me?
Look, man, I don't know how you're able to forget the entire point of this fucking video this quickly, but honestly, I'm impressed.
Listen, man, I don't know what you're talking about, and I legitimately would, like, appreciate it if you just, like, left me up.
What are some good British television shows I should watch?
What?
You heard me.
Doctor Who?
No, not that one. Not that one. Okay, what? Let me rephrase this. What is a really good British television show I can watch right now with, like, a really good theme song?
Are you sure it's not Doctor Who?
Oh my god, literally shut the fuck up. Oh, holy shit. Look, I'm talking about Are You Being Served? That show. Are You Being Served? That one.
Wait, but if you already had a show in mind, then why would you be asking me to— Oh my goodness!
Ground floor perfumery, stationery and leather goods, wigs and haberdashery.
The next video we're going to be looking into is the one that I intended to cover originally. The album being discussed in this video, The Ape of Naples by the band COIL, is, for those of you who are unaware, their final album. The band was comprised of the creative and romantic duo John Balance and Peter Sleazy Christopherson. The album was made about a year after the tragic death of John. It was created by Peter through the utilization of unfinished demos, as well as live performance clips that utilize vocal snippets in order to create this final project. The result is this harrowing and heartbreaking series of tracks. It almost seems as though it's is meant to reflect mortality through an almost subconscious lens. It's as though Peter's creative process post the death of John, it almost infused that loss into every corner of this project. With this in mind, I'd like to go back and revisit that original Twitter thread that made me aware of this video in the first place. What a disrespectful piece of shit video. I can't think of anyone less qualified to speak COIL. Get a new job, this music essay shit isn't working for you. Come on, surely it's not that bad.
Pick up some channel merch at catchingbigfish.store. My merch/clothing brand. You know what? Fuck it. 25% off the whole store for the next week if you use code COIL at checkout. All caps, by the way.
Wow, this is legitimately one of the worst music video essays I've ever seen on YouTube. Like, it's not even fucking close, dude. It's worth noting that the original version of this video was completely taken down by Jake himself and then re-uploaded later because of the fact that Jake somehow missed the fact that these people were romantically involved with each other for 20 fucking years. Something that, mind you, even a single look on Wikipedia probably would have revealed for him. And this is me speaking from experience because I actively researched this band. The fact that this was somehow a topic that got completely overlooked in making a video that solely revolves around the creative process following the death of a lover, I have no fucking clue. But I mean, surely this means that since it's a re-upload to fix that misinformation, clearly the correct information should be in the video now, and is definitely totally way more respectful considering the fact that this now has new light shed onto Jake. Yes, sir! No misrepresentation of the music, nor disrespect of the music here.
We all have media that deeply frightened us when we were young. Maybe it was a scene from a TV show with an extreme tonal shift. Maybe it was a movie that you stayed up a little too late watching.
Maybe it was the time I fucked your bitch in your room last night.
A song from an album that was so eerie and disturbing to me when I listened to it that my young and malleable brain turned it into a dog whistle for fear.
Yeah, I don't even know what the fuck that's supposed to mean. That's right. This album is so scary that it's scary. This is just so shockingly out of the gate, such a unserious way to be representing this project. I mean, come on, a fucking slow drone fade in with music as you talk about how the project's creation was different.
But this project, the one this video's on, The Ape of Naples, is different. Not just different to me, but its creation is different. But let's stop right here for now. Put a pin in this conversation. We'll come back to it as this video continues.
Like, I don't know how much clearer this shit can be fucking made. This is about someone's real life. Doing these kind of campy ass editing styles is just so disrespectful. From here though, the thesis behind this video becomes pretty clear. And for the first half of the video, other than the COIL discount code, it's a pretty decent video starting off. It does this narrative jump back and forth between the creation process for the band members as well as Jake's own experience discovering this music for the first time. Though it's after this halfway point in the video that despite a pretty good recognition of the fact that the video was re-uploaded to recognize the fact that the band was a queer couple, the video takes a sharp nosedive.
Badly injured and losing blood, John was rushed to the hospital to receive life-saving medical attention. But it wasn't enough, and Gregory Lawrence Burton would pass away later that night in the hospital.
That's not even his real fucking name! His name is Jeffrey! This is a re-upload of the video meant to correct misinformation, and yet you still couldn't even get John's actual fucking name right! But hey, I mean, at least you put an edit in the description for this one, so I guess that's like just totally fine.
Now, if you were paying attention, John's death was in November of 2004, but The Ape of Naples released in 2005, with John as the lead vocalist. How is this possible? How did this album release with new vocals after the vocalist's death?
Well, gee whiz, Jake, you sure have stumped me here. There has never in the history of music been a posthumous release from any artist before, let me just see here, 2 months ago.
Peter would go back into the archives and find outtakes and forgotten demos from earlier albums. Specifically live exclusive songs and a project referred to as The Backwards during the New Orleans era.
Jake, hi, Jake. Hey, what's the New Orleans era? I think I'd personally love to hear you explain it, considering the fact that the audience has no context for what you're talking about at all. Oh, what's that? You don't explain it at all? First of all, the album is not called The Backwards. It's just called Backwards, man. Maybe you're thinking of the later project, The New Backwards, but that's an entirely separate posthumous release. That one, in fact, was actually comprised specifically of music that wasn't used for The Ape of Naples. So, I mean, in that case, you'd be even more wrong. And also, since you chose not to explain what the fuck the New Orleans era means, it's in reference to the fact that it was a series of sessions created in Trent Reznor's music studio at the time, Nothing Studios, which I bet you can take a wild fucking guess where that studio was located. I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with blue and Gorblings.
Peter went on to describe songs from the New Orleans era which had not seemed to have found their time suddenly took on a completely new aspect because of John's death. Miraculously, they changed, morphed in front of my eyes, and I had numerous, oh my god, that's what that's about, revelatory moments.
Yeah, this quote is just straight up taken from the background and composition tab on the Ape of Naples Wikipedia page.
Hey, it's editing me here again. I realized that you might be wondering exactly how I found out that this was exactly a Wikipedia pool and not like an actual legitimate source that was utilized in the making of this video. Well, not only is the quote word for word exactly what was listed on the Wikipedia page that I am showing you right now, but on top of this, the page where this interview comes from no longer exists on the internet. That's right, if you go to the link, it actually comes up with a 404 error page, which I think is pretty fucking cool. You actually cannot access this unless you use the Wayback Machine and go back to 2021 in order to read what was originally there. So unless Jake somehow got this link to this interview not knowing what was in it, opened it up in the Wayback Machine in order to make this video, and then somehow he pulled the exact same quote in the exact same way with the exact same start and end point as what is used in this Wikipedia page, he just pulled it from Wikipedia. At this point, Jake finally gets into an analysis of the content of the album itself, and it's about just as frustrating as you would probably expect by now. It starts off pretty alright, beginning a pattern of him describing lyrics and their meaning given the added context after John's death. He starts by discussing the lyrics of the track Fire of the Mind, which is done very well despite how short it is.
The album opens with the organ and woodwind track Fire of the Mind. And after knowing the backstory of this album's creation, the lyrics just really do bring on a whole different meaning. Over ambient chords, organ sounds, and distorted feedback, John Balance wails away. Does death come alone? Or with eager reinforcements? Angels are bestial, man is the animal.
Personally, if I were doing something similar, I think it would have been worth noting that this track was actually placed as the very first one of the track list, in contrast to its placement as the final track on Backwards. I think it might be cool to use that to suggest the idea that these lyrics were taken and deliberately chosen to open the Ape of Naples, almost to serve as a bit of a thesis statement for the project, as well as maybe a way for Peter to comment on the passing of John through his own lyricism. This is all just super nitpicky though, don't actually take me seriously, it's just a personal observation of mine, whatever, let's just get back on topic. Once he gets to discussing the lyrics of the next track that he covers though, things become pretty obviously poorly done.
There's a man lying down in a grave somewhere with the same tattoos as me. I loved him, I loved him,
I loved him.
You didn't even read the lyrics right, Jake. How do you mess that up? They are right in front of you. Though this is, like a lot of stuff that I've mentioned before at this point, kind of nitpicky, I think that it showcases the exact level of care that is being done to portray this music properly. I mean, if this was like a short video review of any other album by any other band made at any other point, it's like, sure, use Wikipedia, use fucking genius lyrics, who gives a fuck, right? The problem is that with a band who has barely any notoriety in the mainstream and whose members have since passed, whatever you say kind of remains stagnant in a certain regard. As one YouTube commenter on this video puts it, quote, "The first COIL video essay that I've seen on YouTube took us long enough." You again have a massive platform and are fundamentally using that to be extraordinarily lazy with how you are portraying information. Information surrounding a record that deserves a much higher level of respect than you're giving it. This, provided that it's not criticized, has the potential to become the go-to COIL video on YouTube, and I don't think that this kind of video deserves that title. It should not be able to bear that sort of responsibility. He later brings up the lyrics to the track Cold Cell, which he describes as follows.
Cold Cell is extremely eerie from the lyrics. Over stunning ambient chords, vocal samples, and an upright bass, John could be interpreted as praying for forgiveness from his sins before he'd pass away.
O Lord, save my sinful soul from local punishment, from the faraway zone, from being frisked, from the tall fence, from the severe prosecutor, from the devil owner, from small rations, from dirty water, from steel handcuffs, from hidden obligations, a cold cell, and short haircuts. Save us from the death penalty. Amen.
Read more as a prayer than song lyrics, once you know the origins of the album, just makes the song even more spine-chilling.
Though I understand where you might get this conclusion from, it completely ignores the very clear anti-prison system messaging of the song. Some people on Genius have even gone as far as to say that it's an English translation of a Russian Orthodox convict's prayer, but I mean, I can't speak to this directly, I'm not fucking Russian. Either way, it's still pretty disingenuous to say that this is a direct comment on mortality without any other messaging to it whatsoever. Remember, these are lyrics that were crafted without the knowledge of John's death. Reading these lyrics as though they're somehow meant to speak on his own demise, especially considering that this death was by complete accident. It's just, in my opinion, you serving to try and like squeeze this album's messaging into your own narrow perception of what it has to be to make your video's thesis make sense. Though Jake does go on to cover the final track of the album, Going Up, which is a final send-off both to John from Peter, as well as to COIL and its fan base from the band.
In an essence, it's a swan song for COIL, a final bow for the original iteration of the band. The song, weirdly, is technically a cover of a British sitcom's theme song. The theme song to Are You Being Served is played very quietly in the mix. It's hard to point out, but it's there. John Balance's final vocal appearance would be on this song. A ripped live performance from Dublin Electronic Arts Festival in 2004. John's last live performance before his death. Repeating the phrase, "Are you ready to go now?" According to Wikipedia, Peter made it a point to include this snippet on the album, saying the one and only time John thought of and sang those words. His own epitaph, if you will.
Hold up, just 1 second here. Oil, Ape of Naples, yeah. Ape of Naples is composed of favorite material, which began when it was originally released on Autumn Equinox. Going up at the festival was...
No! To my surprise, Jake actually covers this song really well.
Yeah, I had like a whole section planned here where I actually praise parts of this video, but then I saw that whole like Wikipedia thing from 2 seconds ago, so let's just like skip over all of this. Sorry about that.
But then he gets more into fact-based history of COIL stuff, and we all know how Jake gets with facts now, don't we?
After this album was released, it became absolutely infamous in the underground experimental music scene. Unfortunately, Peter Christopherson would pass away only a few years after the Ape of Naples release, dying in his sleep on November 25th, 2010, with no public cause of death being revealed. But before his death, he would actually release the album that he took most of John's vocals from for the Ape of Naples. It's on streaming services right now, actually, and it's titled The New Backwards.
My god, man. The album that you're thinking of is actually just called Backwards, which is the album you so lovingly referred to as The Backwards. You know, I wrote a joke in the script that I said earlier before I even discovered this error, saying that maybe he confused the album called Backwards with The New Backwards, which would make him even more wrong than I originally thought that he was. But now I'm legitimately starting to think that that's actually what fucking happened.
Hey, editing me here. Again. So I found something that's like actually really fucking funny. Like, you aren't going to fucking believe this, but I think I know exactly why he made this error in this video. Fucking, if you go to the background and composition page on the Ape of Naples Wikipedia and you click on the tab for Backwards, where the record is described as being aborted, by the way, you click on Backwards and it actually takes you to the Wikipedia page for the new Backwards instead of just the regular Backwards project, because of the fact that there isn't a page for just Backwards on Wikipedia yet. So I'm assuming Jake just saw this error on Wikipedia and just assumed that that meant, oh, they probably meant The New Backwards was the name of the album. Gee whiz, it's almost like Wikipedia isn't a reliable source or something.
After Peter's death in 2010, COIL would still continue to release music, with their most recent project being from this year. But all releases after The New Backwards are posthumous releases or compilations of unreleased music.
Yeah, so neither of these are true. The last posthumous release with neither founding member of the band alive was actually 2019's Swan Yard, with all other releases since The New Backwards and the death of Peter simply being either reissues of various already existing projects, as well as the occasional film score, such as their soundtrack to an erotic video called Sarah Dale's Sensual Massage, as well as the theme from The Gay Man's Guide to Safer Sex. God, these guys were so fucking cool. So, just, what's the moral of the story here, right? I don't know. Okay, well, here, Jake. If you're watching this, you're not, but if you are, I don't want to see you do some shit like delete your channel. I really don't want that. This is not a H-Bomber Guy, James Somerton type deal, even though I've been pretty much an exact clone of H-Bomber Guy for this entire video. Look, I think that music channels like yours are legitimately great. I feel like we should have more people on YouTube doing these more in-depth video essay style discussions of music, especially when you compare this to like the one-off reaction style content that we've been seeing so much of on YouTube lately. Hell, I mean, this is a massive reason that I started up my own channel. I really wanted to kind of help to fill in more of this space of conversations around music surrounding our favorite artists. However, when you're taking on this style of content, you do have to understand a couple of things. You can't just fundamentally misrepresent and spread false information around art and artists. You can't sit and just make fun of entire genres of music solely because you personally don't understand it. And that's especially true if these genres are niche and obscure enough to where if you are doing a video on it, it might be the first exposure to these genres that people are even getting at all. You also can't approach what's supposed to be advertised as in-depth analysis with the intention of being lazy in its production. And you also can't be reductive of the art by trying to squeeze its meaning into your own narrow interpretation of what it's supposed to be. And who am I kidding? You should also probably delete your channel. Look, I would genuinely love to see progress being made in the quality of this content, but I just really would need to see you reevaluate the impact that you have in the music scene here. You have created a space for yourself in the music sphere in regards to this music discourse that people interpret you as being the place to go for education and understanding on experimental music. People out there are trusting you to get this information right. And you're also meant to be a legitimate and honest fan of the stuff that you were talking about. You are supposed to be passionate about this. Look, all I really want to see out of this video is improvement on any front. This isn't about going after some big YouTuber or like starting up drama for engagement or shit like that. It's really not my intention here. I really don't want to do that. I just really hope that like by some miracle, this video can maybe spark a change in the music discourse landscape, especially in terms of how experimental and abstract music gets portrayed here. And if you're someone who maybe watches A Bucket of J, all power to you. I totally respect you for that, and I totally understand why that content is appealing. I just hope that maybe this video has inspired you, if you weren't already maybe, to be more open to these experimental and abstract and harsher forms of music creation. In fact, I've even, in the description of this video, linked a playlist on Spotify, as well as several Bandcamp links that you can go to right now in order to see some of my own personal recommendations for harsh noise and experimental music that I just personally really enjoy. So feel free to check that out if you are curious about what I believe to be good music. Seriously, there's so much incredible art to be witnessed here, and it's all in scenes that deserve but currently don't have eyes on them. And maybe if this video helps to get you to experience that kind of art, then I think I'd say that my goal was accomplished. So thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. I'm gonna go ahead and talk for a little bit as per usual. So feel free to sit back, relax, and enjoy. First of all, I want to say thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. I know that this video was actually supposed to be a 50 best albums list, so for those of you who wanted that, it's spring. It's fucking spring. Lamb is effigy. There you fucking go. Yeah, this video really kind of hurt my soul to make because it's just, I really enjoy a lot of the music that is being misrepresented here. And I think that this is such a cool community of people that I'm lucky to say that I'm affiliated with, even honored to say that I'm affiliated with. I think that stuff is just really sad. I think that there's so much great music here, and I want to see as many people get on that shit as fucking possible. So yeah, thank you for watching this. I know that this video was kind of like a H-Bomber guy video if it wasn't interesting or funny, but still, I really appreciate it, and even I'd say that that makes me appreciate you more for watching this video, considering that it was neither interesting nor funny. Yeah, I've been working on new music. It's gonna be a while before it's out, but there's already some really cool stuff coming out of it, and I'm really happy with it so far. So thank you for supporting me and allowing for this kind of stuff to be possible. It genuinely means the world, and I appreciate it. I'm still working on physical copies. I actually have a cassette deck over here now, which is really fucking sick. So hopefully I'll be able to make cassettes soon too, like I was planning on. I'm hoping to have stuff out for Bandcamp Friday in February, but I'm not sure. It might have to be delayed until March. So just follow me and stay up to date on that if you want. So yeah, just thank you for watching. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, you guys want to hear some actual harsh noise music? Here you go.
You thought this was your average lullaby? No. You were wrong. Really?